Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here. I'm today with Toonami's ratings from this past Saturday night, June 19th, 2021. Let's start at the top of the block. At the top of the block, we have My Hero Academia at a .09, Dr. Stone at a .08, Food Wars at a .07, The Promised Neverland finale at a .06, Black Clover at a .06, Naruto Shippuden at a .07, and the ratings for the Attack on Titan and Dragon Ball Super reruns are not in presently. Overall, I think I'm like not using hyperbole here. This might be the absolute worst week in the history of Toonami in terms of ratings. Not a single show hit a .1. I'm trying to think back. I don't think we ever had a marathon that did this poorly on a night before. And this is impressive. These are low numbers. Not a single show even got 200,000 total viewers, which is insane considering that just like 3 or so years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, we would consider it a bad night when Dragon Ball Super didn't hit 800,000 viewers. So, I mean, that's just for perspective there. And at the top of the block, I mean, it does not look good for My Hero Academia that it leads off the block this poorly. And then you can go to Dr. Stone afterwards, dropping 100th and saying, this is the best retention Dr. Stone has had since coming back to the block, and it is. And it's only because it has such a low starting value. There's only so far down it can go with how low it starts. And then after that, you just have like Food Wars kind of keeping up the bleeding. And then you kind of feels like you hit the zenith of the bleeding with the Promised Neverland. And you can't see it divide into thousandths here, but in the actual rankings, which I should have put here what the actual cable rankings were, the Promised Neverland actually finished fractionally worse than Black Clover. So, despite the total viewers being higher for the Promised Neverland, it actually was the lowest rated show of the night on Toonami. And you could say, well, you expect this considering how abysmally received the season 2 of The Promised Neverland was, especially the finale. And I did a video for every episode this season, commenting on my reaction to it. And yeah, I have one for the final episode. And just to briefly synapse it here, yeah, I was kind of angry at it. I did not like the finale. And a lot of people just didn't even want to stick around and see it because it was a .06. That's almost no one. And then you have Shippuden, which the jury is technically out whether or not it's a rerun or not. Spoiler TV, which now where I get my ratings from since Showbuzz Daily's now gone, lists it as a new show, especially since you won't see the numbers for Attack on Titan or Dragon Ball Super. The only time you'll get to see them is if someone asks them in the comments section, which for this week someone already has, and if they respond, which they haven't yet, that's the only way you'll figure out those numbers. I would estimate it's probably a .06, maybe up to a .07, which would just make it even worse. Imagine The Promised Neverland, with all the promise it had going into season 2, ending up being the lowest rated show in the night. You know, Especially considering that this lineup for Toonami isn't exactly seen as one of the better ones of all time. Oh, it's definitely better than last year when we had to resort to airing Paranoia Agent. But hey, or Paranoia Agent and Ballmaster season 2. I forgot about that on the block. And yeah, there's not that much to say. And like I said to the right here, I just have these notes like the hell, like how bad My Hero Academia was. And honestly, one of the few highlights of that utter shit show of a finale The Promised Neverland has was at least Dawn looked fly as fuck at the end. Like during the montage, he had some serious drip going on. And yeah, I mean, and there is kind of one thing you could point to say, well, why were the ratings this universally bad this week? Well, since past Saturday was Juneteenth, what Adult Swim did was for the 2 hours preceding Toonami, they had a broadcast of the Boondocks for an hour, then followed by Black Dynamite. And particularly the episodes chosen were the more race focused episodes of those shows. So it's arguable that, considering that for a normal weekend before Toonami, it's preceded by Rick and Morty and Family Guy, which are consistently the two highest performers that Adult Swim has. So it serves as a reasonably high leadoff point. And the order they specifically air these shows were the Boondocks at 10 and then Black Dynamite at 11. If it was the other way around, you can argue the ratings would have been higher, considering I've heard a lot of fan overlap between anime and the Boondocks, especially considering that Aaron Magruder was actually heavily inspired by anime for the Boondocks, which if you watch the Boondocks, you can definitely at times see that influence. And it's kind of interesting they chose it that direction. And it was a one-off thing. And I can imagine the average person's like, I'm just gonna tune in 11 o'clock to watch Family Guy, then watch those Japanese cartoons, and then you see Black Dynamite doing 1970s cop stuff or vigilante stuff, and being like, well, this isn't Family Guy, and they just tune out, and they just don't come back at midnight for My Hero Academia. And if I had to wager a guess, I would say that is the reason why the ratings are this low. Like, I would fully expect the ratings go up at least a bit next week. Hard to say exact numbers. And note, next week we're going to have a slightly different schedule. Next week at 1 a.m., we'll be having Yashahime Half Demon Princess. And then you'll have Food Wars shift back to 1:30, and the rest of the block is the same. However, I can't imagine that Yashahime does worse than the Promised Neverland did. Promised Neverland has been a dud this season, and it's definitely already on my short list for the worst things to happen to Toonami in 2021 when I get to that list in December. So again, if I had to pick wager guess for what Yashihime does in the block, I'll say it starts at a 0.11. Kind of just guessing that number out there. And yeah, so what do you guys think? Oh, one more thing. I have finally started research in my waifu video. I do not know when I'll get that done, when I'll be able to complete the research for that. Hopefully sooner rather than later. The next video I have scheduled is Sunday night, where I'll react to episode 2 of season 5 of Rick and Morty. So there. So what do you guys think? What's your thoughts on what are your hopes and dreams for Yashahime? Does Dawn have epic drip? What are your thoughts on the block as is now? Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. I like reading them. If you like this content, if you want more wacky Toonami news content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am the Super Orange Cat, and that is all.